They've survived the terror of war and crossed continents in search of peace. Hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers from Afghanistan arrived in Germany seeking sanctuary. But now, Germany is sending many back to an uncertain future. I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we meet those who fled conflict for safety far away, but now find themselves where they began.
زه د خلافت اسلامي یو مجاهد نن په جرمني کې عملیات استشهادي کوم د اسلامیه هر مجاهد په تاسو ته ځان را
This was the final message from an Afghan asylum seeker in Germany before he went on a rampage.
ان شاء الله کفارو وختونه تللی وختونه لاړل تاسو براتې د موږ په ملکونو باندې د موږ ښځې د موږ زنانه د موږ ماشومان هم شهیدانول تاسو وایي تاسو په هر کوڅه کې په هر کلي کې په هر ښار کې په هر ایرپورټ کې په نښه کیږئ انشاءالله.
The teenager Mohammed Riyad recorded this chilling video in the home of his German foster family last July.
دا وګورئ تاسو په منځه کې تاسو په کور کې زه اوسېدلی یم درته انشاءالله تاسو په کور کې هم درته پلان جوړ کړی ده انشاءالله تاسو وایي تاسو په دې کور کې حلاله.
Armed with an axe and a knife, he then boarded a suburban train and stabbed passengers before being shot dead by police. A few months later, another attack, this time by a Tunisian man who ploughed a truck into a Berlin Christmas market, killing 12 people. Crimes like these by asylum seekers in Germany are exceptionally rare, but they turn the public against immigration and fueled a growing suspicion of asylum seekers.
Send these boys back where they came from, because they're not worthy of living in this country.
And that's exactly what the German government is now doing. From 2005 to 2015, there was a tacit agreement to only deport Afghans under extreme circumstances. That is no longer the case. Germany has taken more Afghan asylum seekers than any other European country, but its doors are slowly closing. They are now forcibly deporting Afghans whose refugee applications have failed. Every month, private charter planes are taking rejected asylum seekers back to Afghanistan. The German government says parts of the country are safe to return to. But activists argue that innocent people who had fled war are being forced to go back to a battleground.
We are in solidarity with the people on this plane, and we want to point out that this is an injustice because it is not right to deport people into a war zone.
Asylum seekers say these deportations are happening without warning. They don't know who will be next or when the flights are scheduled. Many have gone underground. But in Hamburg, I've managed to track down someone who knows he's on the blacklist.
Psychologically, I'm in a very bad situation. Every day I'm scared that the police will come and arrest me.
Ali Reza Karimi has lived in Germany for almost 7 years, working as a hotel cleaner while he applied for asylum. But his application has just been rejected. The government hasn't told him why, but he could be sent back to Afghanistan at any moment.
The German government says they are deporting criminals, but I've never committed a crime. I worked, I tried my best, I tried to contribute to German society. I proved that I could be a good citizen.
Ali Reza says he fled Afghanistan in fear for his life. As an ethnic Hazara, his community is on the ISIL hit list. The attacks against them are deadly and frequent. In July 2016, at least 80 people were killed at this Hazara protest in Kabul. ISIL bombers targeted the community because they are Shia instead of Sunni Muslims.
We were holding a peaceful demonstration when I heard a bang, and then everyone was running away and screaming. I saw many people were killed, and most of them were covered with blood. There was nobody to help the victims.
Ali Reza says he cannot go back to this. Attacks on Hazaras are escalating, and his parents, along with thousands of Afghans, have already fled to Iran.
I'm very scared of going back to Afghanistan because I have no one there. There are murders, rapes and bomb blasts. There's no security, only war. Where is the security in Afghanistan that they can say it's safe? I don't know if I'll even be here tomorrow. I'm so afraid. Why is the government doing this?
Ali Reza says he's been pushed to the edge. Last month he tried to kill himself after authorities attempted to arrest him for deportation while he was meeting an asylum caseworker.
They said, no, you can't be here. You must go to jail. I told them so many times, please don't do this. One of the security guards asked me, what's in your hand? After that, they started shouting that I had a razor. Then I just did it. They grabbed both my arms, and another guy grabbed me by the neck. My arms were like this.
Ali Reza is now under hospital care, but he could still be deported.
Sometimes I really regret coming here. It's better to stay in my country and die in one bomb blast. Then everything is finished. Here, they're killing me slowly, with stress and depression.
If you get a chance to stay in Germany, what will you do?
I don't have any big dreams, like being a doctor or an engineer. I just want a normal life.
But Ali Reza's hopes are no match for powerful political forces sweeping Europe. Across the continent, far-right parties have emerged from the fringes to take centre stage. The Alternative for Germany party has gained popularity here by campaigning against immigration.
It must be clear that the guiding culture of this world region and this country is not Islam, but our Christian Western culture.
The party claimed shock gains in recent state elections. Now they're attacking Chancellor Angela Merkel's government in the lead-up to federal polls in September.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a night to cheer. We got into all the Western German parliaments. We are the party we always talked about. The citizens have proved it.
To win back Conservative voters, the government has hardened its stance on asylum seekers. Afghans in particular are being treated as economic migrants, not war refugees.
Millions in developmental aid were provided to Afghanistan. So one can expect the Afghan people to stay in their country.
Analysts say Afghan asylum seekers are being used as political pawns who can be traded for votes.
It's not about whether Afghanistan is safe as a country which can receive deportees or not. It's more or less purely about domestic politics here in Germany.
Thomas Ruttig is a German researcher who has lived in Afghanistan on and off for 30 years. He says Afghans are fleeing to Europe because the military intervention by Germany and her allies has failed to make their country safe.
I think the German government, other governments, bear a part of responsibility for the misery Afghanistan is in, so they have to pay back. It's not the Afghans have to pay back to them. Because very often you hear about, oh, Afghans should be grateful and so on. But what should they be grateful for?
The German government refused our requests for an interview. Meanwhile, Ali Reza is painfully aware of the violence engulfing his country. Today, he's visiting friends at a housing facility for refugees on the outskirts of Hamburg. Over lunch, all they can talk about is a recent attack on a military hospital in the Afghan capital.
کجای افغانستان امن است؟ جوابی برای گفتن نداره.
On March 8th, ISIL gunmen disguised as medics stormed a hospital in Kabul. Patients and staff cowered under beds and hid on window ledges as special forces battled for hours to end the siege. At least 49 people were killed.
میگن که افغانستان امن است. کجا امن است؟ چون به خاطر که سه تا قومی ما اونجا شهید شدن. دیگه مردم میگن که ما عکسشون ندارم. اونجا در شفاخانه سیمینار داشتن که از اونجا وقتی که برآمدن می آمدن طرف خوره دیگه اونجا انفجار شد دیگه جان خود نادز دادن 3 نفر بچه‌های جوان.
Almost weekly, these men receive news of yet another attack in Afghanistan, and every week their anxiety deepens.
همین بنده خدا 3 نفر از بستگانش، 3 نفر از یک خانواده فامیلایش، بله کلگش جوان در سرگ عمومی از یک شفاخانه تیر میشه، بم میکفه، خیلی راحت از بین میره.
Looking out over this peaceful scene, it's hard to imagine a place where hospital patients are shot in their beds. To find out ourselves what the situation is, we're travelling to Afghanistan.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kabul International Airport with the local time in 3:45 and the temperature is 30 degrees Celsius. For your comfort and
As we land in Kabul, we hear that another plane from Germany is arriving carrying deported asylum seekers.
We're here waiting for a plane of deported Afghans to arrive from Germany, and this group of police, riot police, have just arrived, and we believe they're the welcoming party.
As police take their positions, we see a few asylum seekers trickle out with other travellers.
Did you just come back from Germany?
Yeah.
From which city?
From Munich.
From Munich?
Yeah.
Were you requesting asylum in Germany?
Yeah, but I don't give it to me.
Their flight from Germany to Afghanistan took 13 hours. But as we drive around the capital, Kabul, it's clear that the two countries are worlds apart.
Kabul feels like a city preparing for war. There are these 3-meter-high blast walls around all the government buildings and embassies. There are checkpoints every few kilometres, and it's pretty common to see heavily armed men racing through the streets. You feel like there could be an attack any moment. American diplomats rarely travel on these roads. They often take helicopters when they leave the embassy. Despite the German government assuring Afghans that parts of the country are safe, their staff must wear bulletproof vests anytime they leave their compound. The next day, we're able to track down another man who was deported on the flight from Germany, and he's willing to speak to us. Hi, I'm Karishma. Thank you for meeting us. Mohammed Shwaib Husseini has had an extraordinary 24 hours. Just yesterday, he was living in the German city of Brandenburg, working in a timber factory. Suddenly, everything changed.
My boss came and said, "Mohammed, come." I went out and saw 4 or 5 police and one lady from the local police station. They told me, "We have to send you to Munich, and from Munich back to Afghanistan." I asked them why. What have I done wrong? They said, "You've been rejected. That's why we're sending you back." I told them, "You can't do this. I have a job. I have a life."
Mohammed had lived in Germany since he was a teenager, almost a third of his life. He says he had no idea that his asylum application had been rejected for the third and final time.
Even my lawyer didn't know that I'd been rejected. They never sent me any letter or anything, so I wasn't worried. I thought they'd let me know if they were going to deport me. I was in shock. I didn't know what had happened. Then they handcuffed me. I felt so ashamed. I asked them not to take me in front of my colleagues. I asked them to take me out the back way. I was so ashamed.
The boarding house where Mohammed is staying is run by the International Organization for Migration. It's for deported Afghans who have nowhere else to go. But they can only stay here for 2 weeks.
ये मेरे डॉक्यूमेंट्स है जो डॉचलैंड में मुझे दिया है, ये है जिससे मुझे भेज गया है यहाँ पर।
यहाँ पे तो लिखा है कि आपका एक वॉलंटरी रिपैट्रिएशन है, ये सच है?
सरासर मैं कहता हूँ ये डॉक्यूमेंट ही जो दिया है मुझे झूठा है। मेरा सब कुछ वहाँ रह गया, बस अचानक आके उठा के और परमिशन भी नहीं देता था फ़ोन करने के लिए कि मैं किसी दोस्त को फ़ोन करूँ। अपनी मर्ज़ी से कौन आता है इस तरह?
It wasn't just his job that Mohammed was forced to leave. It was his whole life. For years, he had worked hard to belong in Germany, taking language classes and making new friends. He also had strong roots within the Afghan community.
I really love my friends there, more than myself. It's true because they were my life. I didn't have my family. They were my family, everyone I knew there. I would wake up with them, sit with them. I thought of them as my sister, my brother, my mother. I never felt like I didn't have a family.
Mohammed rented a small apartment in Brandenburg, but most of the time he was at the factory.
I really liked my work. My colleagues were really nice to me, and I worked really hard to set up my home. Now they're selling my things. Even my colleagues were very upset. They're asking why I was sent away. My question is, why did they destroy my life in just 12 hours, sending me here without money or any help? Is there anyone who can answer me? A man shouldn't cry in front of other men. But I can't take this anymore. My life has been turned upside down.
Mohammed is now trapped in a country he barely knows. His family fled Afghanistan when he was just a child. They sold their home in the southern province of Kandahar to pay for his journey to Germany. Now his parents and brothers are in Nepal, waiting for the UN to recognize them as refugees and resettle them elsewhere.
I'm worried about my family in Nepal. I used to send them money. What will happen to them now?
Afghanistan's government has no answers for Mohammed. They reluctantly agreed to take back deportees from Europe. If they refused, billions of dollars in aid money could have been jeopardized.
Sometimes European countries deport people back to Afghanistan, but our government doesn't want them back. We don't have enough resources to help the people who are being deported here.
Afghanistan's refugee minister doesn't blame his people for fleeing their country. Every month, the Taliban is gaining more ground. And now there's the deadly threat of ISIL. Just last year, a record number of civilians were killed and injured in the fighting.
Afghanistan hasn't been safe for almost 40 years because of war. If it's not safe here, of course people will go to another place.
More than 12,000 Afghans are expected to arrive from Germany. They'll join hundreds of thousands of people who have already been deported from neighbouring Pakistan and Iran. This influx has created ghettos like this around Kabul. The conditions here are appalling. No running water, open sewers, and the constant threat of disease. It's displacement on a massive scale, second only to Syria.
Now there's fighting in Afghanistan and in Syria. But why are they giving preference to Syrians? The countries that are discriminating should answer this.
As the German and Afghan governments bicker about the fate of asylum seekers, Mohammed is struggling to survive. The German government promised to give deportees at least 700 euros each in financial aid, but Mohammed has received nothing. He was sent here with only the 50 euros that he had in his pocket.
Ja, hallo, schönen guten Tag, Frau Kofka. Ja, wir wieder da. Frau Kofka?
In desperation, Mohammed is calling his friend Annegret Kofka in Brandenburg. She works with migrants to help them integrate and has known Mohammed for years.
Ich weiß, das ist alles hinter unserem Rücken passiert. Wir wussten es auch nicht und du wusstest es auch nicht. Das war ganz hinterlistig.
Und jetzt, was können wir machen, Frau Kofka?
Nächste Woche mit Hassan und Jabbat bei deinem Arbeitgeber einen Termin.
Okay, danke dir. Wenn meine Arbeitgeber zu mir macht etwas, dann ich denke, dann kann man etwas machen, ne? Weil das ist eine Muster.
Wir hoffen. Ich weiß jetzt nicht, wie Deutschland reagiert. Verstehst du?
Ja, bitte.
Das ist eine ganz tolle politische Sache.
Ja.
We tried to find out from the German embassy why Mohammed was deported without warning and why he wasn't given financial aid. The ambassador refused to appear on camera, but he did meet with me at the embassy. The German ambassador was surprised at the story that Mr. Husseini told us. He said that Mr. Husseini should have been given 4 weeks' notice before he was deported and that he should have received money before being put on his flight to Afghanistan. He said he will look into this case. Weeks later, the embassy tells me that notice of deportation was given, but Mohammed and his lawyer say they never received any letter. He can no longer stay at this temporary accommodation. He's going to Kandahar, where his family once had a home. he has a friend there who he can at least stay with. But the province is in the Taliban's heartland.
Kandahar is extremely dangerous, even compared to the rest of Afghanistan. There is no security. Normal people can't live there.
But Mohammed has no choice. The German government doesn't want him, and his own country doesn't know what to do with him. Despite all his efforts, Mohammed is back in the very place he worked so hard to escape.